Today's episode of the Bill Simmons Podcast with the one, the only, Paul Thomas Anderson on the Ringer Podcast Network is brought to you by SeatGeek. That's our presenting sponsor. For $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase on NBA tickets, use promo code BSNBA. Download the SeatGeek app or go right to SeatGeek.com. We are also brought to you by Larry Wilmore's Black on the Air podcast. I made a stop by in there last week to talk about Kobe. He had an awesome year for us. I urge you to subscribe to it. Lots of interesting conversations. If you like some of the interesting conversations we've had here, he's had a ton of them on that podcast. Check that out. And also check out One Shining Podcast, where Mark Titus, Tay Frazier, and I tried to figure out the 12 college basketball schools that should just be better, that should be awesome at college basketball. This is really fun. We had to split it into two parts. You should be subscribing to their podcast anyway. But if you're not, check that one out. It's a really good one. It's a fun one for the holidays. Coming up, Ringer Editor-in-Chief Sean Fennessy, the one and only Paul Thomas Anderson. Here we go. All right, I'm here with Paul Thomas Anderson. First time ever on the podcast. I've been waiting forever. I knew it was going to happen at some point. Sean Fennessy here as well, editor of The Ringer.
Hello.
He's way more excited than he seems. He tries to play everything
I'm playing
cool.
it real cool.
He saw Phantom Thread twice. He went to a screening 2 weeks ago, and then I went on Monday, and Sean was there again. You ran it back.
I did.
And nobody's seen this. You kind of hid it for a while, right?
Well, we just finished it 2 weeks ago. So it's been hidden until then, yeah.
So when you say just finish it, are you talking about just like the tail end of it, or was there actually real things you were trying to fix?
No, the actual, in terms of fixing anything, we gave up on that like months ago because we needed to. You need to make your decisions about what the film's going to be as you go into mixing it and as you cut the negative of the film. So those kind of choices had been made, you know, in late August, early September. We'd kind of decided, but the actual proper, like, just drudge of finishing it, like, you know, mixing it and getting the film prints and doing the color timing and all that kind of stuff, that's kind of occupied every space. All the volume of our day has been occupied with just like technically finishing the film until a couple days before we had our premiere, which that run at the Arrow and the fine arts.
Yeah, I was there on that first night. Was it a mad dash?
No. We knew we were going to make it, and we scheduled it within an inch of its life. So we kind of knew like we'd be all right.
When did you reach the point where people just left you alone with these movies? Because I know Boogie Nights was. You know, obviously you're 27 at that point, and they're meddling all the time. But when did the meddling stop?
Right after that.
Yeah?
Yeah. That was a success, and I went to work again with New Line and Mike DeLuca, who was running the studio at the time. And you know, they were like, you know, just go ahead and do your work. And when they said that, and when there was a sort of feeling that you weren't going to get messed with, somehow the collaboration became even more sweet, you know. And then you start looking for people's opinions.
Yeah, because you want to do right by them. But you said
exactly.
Like, you almost wish somebody had meddled more with Magnolia, right? You have like conflicted thoughts after.
Well, that was like exactly the first time that somebody says, "Okay, go ahead and do what you want," and I think that. There were two things at work there. Number one, there was a rush to finish it. And I wasn't skilled enough at that time to realize, like, okay, what I would do now is, like, let's stop. Stop for a week. Don't do anything that has anything to do with this movie and come back and look at it. Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, you look at it, even after a few days. But it should be more. It should be like a week. And you can kind of see it just like at a wider angle, and you start going, my God, when you're in the thick of it, you know, you really can't find your way out. And I think that happened a little bit on Magnolia, but, you know, and no, I don't really mean I'd change anything, because you want it to kind of be preserved from that time. Your vision. But certainly I think, 3 hours and 15 minutes is a tiny bit too long.
Writing's kind of like that too, right? Sometimes.
You tell me.
Well, sometimes when you're so deep into it, you just kind of lose sight. I remember when my book was too long. Probably longer than Magnolia since it was like 700 pages. But I hit a point writing that when I was just in too deep. I couldn't see it anymore. And it was like this giant jigsaw puzzle that I was the only one who knew what the pieces were.
Yeah.
And they didn't even necessarily make sense in some ways, but nobody else could have helped me with it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Magnolia was probably like that a little bit, right?
I suppose to a certain extent. I mean, it was really my editor Dylan and I together in that editing room.
You still have that.
And we had that. We had that relationship going, and but also it's probably sort of it's maybe a bit of ego at the time where you just think no, it's precious, or you're nervous. You like the state it's in, and you get nervous about removing any piece of it for fear, a false fear that it all may crumble.
Yeah.
But that's like too precious, and that I think kind of went away when we started to get into the next film. It was just like, right, okay, I think I realized some things that I did that were good and some things that were bad. How can we just like shake it up and make sure that you just keep moving on? But that writing thing, I know that really, really well. And it's painful, you really want somebody to come throw you a life preserver, don't you? Sometimes you're like, just somebody rescue me from this. But
it becomes unhealthy at a certain point. Like, how long was the original Boogie Nights script? It was like 100 and...
maybe 160, 70 pages, something like that. But I think it got down pretty quickly.
How long was Phantom Thread?
Not long. I don't even remember. 110, 115.
It's your shortest film in a long time.
Sure, it sure is.
Was that purposeful?
No. There wasn't enough there to support a longer movie. It's the shape of it was gonna be like, this should be like between 90 minutes and 2 hours. And I knew 90 minutes was a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
Because of the way I thought some things should play out. But 2 hours was what we were aiming at. I think we're just over that. It's like 2:08 or something like that. But
I went into it knowing nothing.
Zero. Had you seen the trailer? Or
my new strategy with movies is I don't want to know anything. I want to sit down and I just want to like take me where I'm supposed to go. So I knew Daniel Day-Lewis was in it. And I knew it was set in the past. And other than that, I avoided everything. And it was really good to do that.
Well, is that strategy that you have born out of just how much fucking blubbery information is coming at you all the time? So you've kind of created like...
Well, think about it. If you go on a date, if you go on your first date with somebody...
This is a tricky first date movie. I just want to put that out there.
I think it's a tricky 10th date movie. If you go on a date and somebody told you, here's what's going to happen in the date, and here's what's going to happen in the first hour, she's going to say this, and then, I don't know, you lose something. I really I avoid trailers. I hate trailers.
Yeah.
I try not to read reviews until after I've seen the movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just what I've settled on. I don't know if it's right or wrong.
Is that what you want as a filmmaker? You're pretty secretive.
Well, I don't know if we're secretive. I mean, well, two things. First, I can't help. I realize back to that thing. I can't help but think it's like you've got. It's great. I think what you're doing, but it's like a natural reaction to like too much information coming at you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like if I hear like Greta Gerwig wrote and directed a movie and it's called Lady Bird, I'm in. That's it. And that's kind of, but on the other side of that is how do you going to find those things that doesn't have her name to it? You have to count, I suppose, on somebody on coming across a trailer.
You have to run your own multimedia website and trust the people that write for it, that tell you things like...
Well, exactly.
In our slide. Yeah, that's the thing. I have real advantages. Like Lady Bird, I stayed away. Everyone's like, you got to see this. I'm like, okay.
Right.
I thought Greta Gerwig was in it. I had no idea she just wrote and directed it and stayed out of the camera. So it was kind of thrilling to watch. I had no idea it was going to be that
I still
good.
haven't seen it, so that...
Yeah, I won't tell you anything.
Yeah. But wait, what did we said something?
Well, but do you try to maintain like an air of mystery around that?
It's a delicate thing because, there's like... If you don't say anything about something that you're working on, that can somehow be misconstrued as mysterious when it's just really like do not disturb, still under construction is actually the sign that's on the door. I think going back to that, I think there's too much I kind of get there's too much yapping about things before they're even done.
That's the internet.
Sometimes. Yeah. Well,
next trailer. Oh, here it is. Oh,
a trailer for the trailer.
Yeah. Well,
a trailer for the trailer. I think it's like TMI, man. TMI.
I don't know when it started, but it was definitely the last 20 years of movies where they give away 70% of it. They don't do it like with the movies you're making. I think there's probably a little different. But when you're talking about like action movies or any sort of plot, you almost feel like you don't even have to see it by the time you saw the trailer.
Yeah, but I also think that is that I think that's true and we feel that way, but I don't think it's a new thing. If you watch any old trailers, like go on YouTube and find
like
those
the
old
70s?
trailers, going back even further, go back to the 30s, go back to the 40s. They've been selling you they've been, probably trailers made right here in this office on this lot.
Yeah.
They've been selling movies pretty much the same way for a long time,
I hate it.
You've been involved in the trailers of your movies, though, and specifically what's revealed. What are you still doing that?
Yeah, because I love trailers. I grew up loving trailers, loving the good ones certainly, and I'm an aficionado, I suppose. I collect them.
What do you think's the best trailer of all time? Let's go last 40 years.
Well, certainly the Shining trailer with the blood coming out of the
my God,
elevator is probably
Great one.
One
Also,
of
the
one
scariest
of the great ones.
30-second commercial. I think I was when I was probably 10 when that movie came out that summer.
Yeah.
So we were around the same age. And when that would come on, I would like change the channel. I was so scared.
Yeah.
It was just Nicholson in the snow limping with an axe. I'm
Right.
like, what is this? I never want to see this movie. Of course, I saw it immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. That's probably. Yeah, I agree. That was a good one. I'm trying to think what else was great. It's like nobody ever has the great trailer conversation.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a lost art because there has to be, like you said, 7 trailers for every film. There's also not that one iconic one that you stick to that you're just like, well, that was the best one for that. Some filmmakers still care about it, obviously, but it's not. It's much more of an all-out assault, right?
Right. I mean, I love it. I know. Have you been to the New Beverly Quentin's Theater?
Yeah.
It's a great theater, and he does a
loves the
great
old
job.
ones.
And I think we share an affection for these things, and it's really fun to see trailers put together with a certain kind of film. I do it for my kids at home. We sort of put together trailers that might excite them and lead into a film that we're going to watch, something like that. And yeah, there are some really shitty trailers, and those can be just as much fun as the really good ones.
Do you think you like trailers because of what your dad did for a living?
It could be. It could be. It may contribute it to it, but
You realize the importance his dad had for kids in the 70s, right?
Yeah, I've heard. I've read. I wasn't there.
Adam Carolla, who's another California guy. I never knew that was your dad.
he didn't.
And
Right.
he told me once, we were talking about those things. I said, I used to love those. And kid, and Charlie's going to have the Angels. And they do these little things. And then on Vegas. And he was like, that's Paul Thomas Anderson's dad. I was like, what? I almost had a heart attack.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are on YouTube now.
Yeah.
And they've held the test of time.
Yeah. The outtakes and things like that. Have you heard those things that he does?
For what?
Well, he was sort of he had a really, really, really foul mouth, and so there's. But I knew I would go to work with him at ABC,
Yeah.
and I'd watch it happen, and then somebody, an engineer that he worked with, cut together a kind of compilation of his greatest hits that he would. I'm sure we can find it on YouTube.
It's on the internet?
Oh yeah.
Oh, my
It
God.
should be out there somewhere. It's fantastic. It's him, shitballs, cocksucker, fuck me, you cocksucker, fuck me. It's just like endless, and it goes on. It's one of those great things that goes on like 45 seconds longer than it should. So it just actually keeps rising. How funny it is.
That's great. That was like his full-time job? That was all he was doing?
That was all he did.
VOs?
Yeah.
And there was like him and 2 other guys, and that was it?
Yeah, there was kind of the more. My dad did more TV spots, less movie trailers. He wasn't really a trailer guy, although he did do some of those. Before I can really remember, he was mainly the voice of ABC.
Important job.
At that time, it was like,
that was like
the Love Boat.
Happy
all that.
Days. It was
Happy Days.
Laverne and Shirley.
What's Happening?
Charlie's
Laverne and
Angels.
Shirley.
Oh my God.
Fantasy Island.
Welcome Back, Kotter.
Welcome Back, Kotter.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of awareness of that as a kid where you're like, this is a big deal that my dad is this voice, or was it just normal workaday stuff?
It was normal workaday stuff. Because he wasn't like, because it was such a behind the scenes kind of job. It wasn't like your dad was a famous actor or something like that. You walked down the street, none of the kids at school knew what your dad did and were like, oh yeah, that's...
Unless they were over your house and you said something. They're probably like, wait,
Get the fuck off my phone.
would you like a grilled cheese?
Yeah. That friend of mine did come over and started using the phone, and my dad said to say what you got to say and get the fuck off my phone. And it was like, we always still quote that.
So do you think
But he was also part of the Carol Burnett show too. That's the thing. He was the booth announcer at the Carol Burnett show.
Oh, wow.
Because he was best buddies with Tim Conway and those guys, and so, you know, I was kind of around those. Parties at our house were like, Tim Conway was there, Harvey Korman, really funny guys. But more than that, all these kind of the engineers and directors, audio guys, sound guys, stuff like that worked at Carol Burnett show and worked at ABC. Those are the guys I grew up with.
So were you doing this if you grew up in Kansas City and your dad was like a welder?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. It's hard to play that game, but I can't imagine the way that I feel about my life is that I can only do one thing, and it was this. I've only been obsessed with one thing since I was a child.
Was it a Spielbergian, I'm 8, making the films of the smashing fire trucks sort of thing?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, the story about how Boogie Nights became Boogie Nights, the fact that you were working on that when you were like 16?
Yeah.
You're making the Dirk Diggler story?
Yeah.
What kind of camera did you have? We had terrible cameras in the 80s.
It was a Sony... I'm trying to remember the model number. If I looked it up online, I could tell you. It was an 8mm, Video 8.
Heavy?
Not too. It was at the time when it started to become a little bit more compact, and actually you could hold the whole thing on your shoulder. You didn't have the side pack. I started out doing the Betamax one with the side pack, and that was really heavy. And the camera and the cord, even the cords were heavy.
The 80s were brutal. I always had the camera in my group of friends, and it was the side pack. It was like 20 pounds of stuff. And
so were you the ringleader who was like, right, we're going to make the movie, let's go?
I was in the high school and college. I was always the guy who's like, that guy's drunk, let's start filming him. I was, or like, right. We made a 40-minute movie in high school, and like we made a parody. Remember that show, The Hitchhiker?
Oh,
on
yeah.
HBO? We made a that was my senior project, a parody of The Hitchhiker, using everyone in our school. But I quickly realized I wasn't, you realized, I'm sure, you were like, I'm meant to do this. I realized I was probably meant to do something else.
Because it was just too much of a pain in the ass to get everybody going to do it, or
no, it just wasn't as cool of a thing in the East Coast. I think
right
here you have probably role models for it and stuff, right? Or you're growing up, especially in the 70s, and you can be like, oh, I see this path. I'm reading about these other directors that did it this way, so I'll do it this way. I don't think I was like that where I grew up.
But I that's exactly what it is. But then it takes a long time to realize that trying to follow somebody else's path is not going to work. I mean, I remember I'd probably like coming out of high school, I was like, well, okay, you got to go to film school. You got to go to film school at either USC or NYU. And short of that, you're a failure, because what other way could there be? But when you don't get into those places, you're like, right, I still know I want to do this. There's no way I'm not going to do this. So how else can I do it? So it's not going to happen to me like I've read in these magazines. Here's how Steven Spielberg did it and all these other people, right? So it's just, for me, it was like galvanizing. It was like, okay, change course. And then you're like 23 and it's not really happening for you. And you start feeling like a failure. Like, right, why isn't Hollywood calling?
Yeah.
I'm 23. Don't they know I should be there by now?
Did you ever consider throwing it in, not pursuing it? Because, I mean,
no.
Opportunity came shortly thereafter, right?
Yeah, it wasn't long after that I was able to make my first movie, but I never, ever considered anything else. I mean, sure, panic and fear of how this might go, but never did I have the thought, like, I should really learn how to do something else.
What, aside from stick with it, what would you have told your 23-year-old self?
Settle down. just settle down. I'm still telling myself to settle down.
We grew up in a weird generation. Sean's younger than us. Our generation was like, you graduated college, there was no internet yet. Mm-hmm. And there were these just certain paths that you followed. It's like, if you want to be a writer, you have to get a job at a newspaper or a weekly.
Right.
If you want to be a director, you have to go to film school. And if you want to be an actor, you move to Hollywood and try to be an actor. And it was like, it wasn't the malleability that I think we have now.
Not at all. But I mean, also we're products of our parents as well. I mean, they were handing off to us pretty much the exact same thing that had been handed to them,
Yes.
right? I suppose, unless, I mean, I don't know, there are, people my age who, my dad was older. My mom was pretty straight-laced, Midwest kind of gal, so there was that kind of thing. But people our age, too, whose parents were complete fucking pot-smoking hippies who'd actually sort of said, like, you don't have to go to school, you don't have to go to college. But I know less of them than I do the other thing, what I think you and I had, which is like, right.
Yeah, that's why I love Kicking and Screaming by the Noah Baumbach, because I felt like that was like the movie that described...
I never saw that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was like what my life was like, where you graduate college and you're like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Things are supposed to happen, right? And then 6 months passed and you're in the same spot you were in 6 months before. And I think now, if you were 21 years old now trying to do this, you would have all these different ways to at least have people see what you were doing.
Yes, for sure.
And when you're 22, 23, you're walking around with your cassettes, giving them to different people and hoping one person watched them?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Quick break to talk about our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. They understand that home plays a big role in your life and your family. That's why they created Rocket Mortgage, which gives you the confidence you need when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Simple. Allows you to understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you, whether you're looking for your first home or your 10th. With Rocket Mortgage, you get a transparent online process that gives you the confidence to make an informed decision. Their trusted partners allow you to share your financial information with Rocket Mortgage at the touch of a button. We could have bought the Boogie Nights house with Quicken Loans. We didn't. Get a real mortgage approval in minutes and adjust the rate and length of your loan in real time. That's Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Bill Simmons. That's my name. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLS, consumeraccess.org, number 3030. And now, back to Paul Thomas Anderson and Sean Fantasy.
What actually happened that allowed Hard Eight to happen?
A series of events that got me to the Sundance Lab, and those series of events were, I think, making a decision to not go to college, like full stop, like I have to leave college, which I had barely enrolled in. I sort of like worked my ass off to get to NYU, quickly realized I don't want to be here. The only thing I want to be doing is doing it. I cannot sit in a classroom. I can't actually, I can't take it. So I need to do what I've been doing on a larger scale and make up like a proper short film, which is crazy too, because that was kind of that was all I seemed capable of writing. But I was writing features, so I wasn't. I I've got to do some more research back into my own head at that time and see what turns up. But making that short film, wanting to get it done, and just feel like, right, okay, I'm proud of this thing. And let me try to get it into film festivals, and let me get it out there, and let me try to sort of just keep moving. And it was the first opportunity to work with proper actors. It was like that thing of like getting your friends to do The Hitchhiker or anything else. I was just like, before then, and it hasn't changed at all. You're like this like ringleader who's just like, right, come on guys, don't we all want to do this thing? And some people do more than others, but you're just like endlessly talking people into stuff or like galvanizing the troops. But that was the first time I worked with actors who had something and really deeply invested in it as well, who were starting out. A great actor named Kirk Baltz and Philip Baker Hall, who was in this, who was in the short. And it was like a proper collaboration. It wasn't just like talking your fucking mates into like coming to help you out, right? So that became like a really important thing. Like, oh God, this feels so good. This is like more than just scrounging. were doing something together. And we're all wanting to get it out into the world. That was really exciting too. So, and then it went to Sundance, played at the Sundance Film Festival in shorts. And from there, I was invited by a woman named Michelle Satter to join the Sundance Labs. And I'd written a screenplay, and it was just getting on that road. Like, where can I find the cash to do this?
That was a really fun time to be an up and coming filmmaker. You and I just both read the Down and Dirty Pictures again.
Yeah,
I mean, that was like the heyday of people actually trying to find young filmmakers and work with them.
Totally. Because there was all this home video cash floating around, you know?
Yeah.
It was like, if you had an idea and a pretty good cast and you could make it for $1 million, it was there to be had, you know? And it was, a lot of great filmmakers came out of that time.
Was it intimidating or fraternal at that time? What was it like for you? Because you're always defined as a very like singular working force writer director, but did you make a lot of friends with all? Do you have like a whole cadre of people that you were around at that time at Sundance?
Well, the people that I met through that process were, you know, Philip and John Riley, and John and I became really close, still incredibly close. And that collaboration, that friendship was like born out of that. I mean, I knew his work and I wanted to find him. The only kind of access I had was actually through the Sundance Lab. Like, right, they're legit. I'm not legit. He's legit because he's done some movies. So can two legit parties get to me, you know? And they introduced me. I sort of sent the script to him. And that was one of those crazy situations when you find somebody too, because like, you don't think they're looking for you, but in their way they are. You know, he'd been in 10 films at that point, which seemed like, my God, he's been in fucking 10 movies.
Yeah.
He's like an old man. He's been around the block. But he was looking for parts. You know, he was looking for somebody to write with, to be with, to do something with, other than just being like a supporting player to Sean Penn or something like that. So just the stars came our way for that relationship to happen. And we were running in our own lane, trying to just get that work done. I don't really remember meeting other filmmakers at that time exactly.
Yeah, I watched the Spielberg documentary, and it was I'd forgotten this or even not known it, that those guys considered themselves like almost like a class, like in college.
Yeah, well, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
You know, that the movie brats being pals, and then there's some association from people coming up between 90 and 95 or something, that everybody's all friends, but it's always unclear if that's actually true or
seem
I
not.
don't think
same.
so. I mean, I became friends with Quentin, and that's who I got to know. And James Gray is another director I got to know around that time. And you know, there are more, but there were friendships that were formed. But it wasn't like we were all part of a club or something like that. But
Right.
Do you feel
definitely
competitive
felt
with those
close.
guys?
No, not at all.
I think Quentin does.
He feels competitive
A little bit, maybe with you.
With me?
Yeah.
He doesn't have anything. He doesn't have anything to worry about. No, I mean, this is probably I think this will sound like the horse answer, but it's so true. Like, somebody does something good, it's exciting. It's really exciting, and especially when something is successful, it's exciting. You know, because it's just if it's good, it's another notch towards like right. Because you always feel somehow at any moment that somebody's going to like put the handcuffs on you, and they're like, "Right, we figured this all out. You're totally full of shit." And you know, this is you've kind of had us going for a while. That feeling is always kind of there, and when something hits, like I remember when The Revenant was coming out,
Yeah.
and it was sort of talked about in Hollywood circles as like, this movie's gone way over budget. I mean, shooting forever. And this is potentially a disaster. And I was like, right, how much competition could you feel to somebody? You're like, I'm rooting for you. I want, you know, all you want is all that horseshit kind of stuff that you're having to read about this film. You're thinking about the filmmaker. Like, he doesn't need to know that this is out there about his film. He's fucking working his ass off. And when it came out and it was so amazing and it made so much money and it was such a success, it was like, fucking cheers, you know, like, right, okay. Because the other side of that would have been something really horrible, which is like, right, you're not getting any more money, or your budgets go way down, everybody cool out. Because no one's allowed to go out into the snow and make another movie for a long time, you know. That kind of stuff can happen.
It's funny how that's a recurring theme in the history of Hollywood. is people freaking out about some movie that's way over budget and oh my god, and then
Yeah, that's the Heaven's Gate story, right?
and
Yeah.
well, it's also The Godfather,
Right.
Right.
but it's like
That was
half the time
Jaws.
it's great.
Yeah,
It's
Jaws.
Jaws. It's a lot of times it works out. Titanic was another one.
That's right.
People are
That
like,
was going to be
Titanic,
another.
oh my god, his
Right.
career's going to be over. It became the biggest movie ever.
Right.
But
That probably, there's a lot of people rooting against you, or there's a lot of people with too much time on their hands that want to.
have you had a movie
Snarky.
where you felt that?
No. I mean, our budgets our budgets are never big, and we don't. It's another advantage of not trying to be secretive, but just trying to quietly go about your own work. I mean,
Yeah.
when you finish a film, you want the entire world to know that it exists. That's what I would hope for our new film, that literally everybody knows it. But I think there's something when you start it, for me personally, the process of finishing writing it and going out into the world, having to make it, is something that's very sacred and that you want to try to keep as close to you for as long as you can.
Yeah.
It just keeps it intimate somehow.
Are you still working through ideas that you were working on when you were at Sundance Labs? Like, are you making films that you are taking 20, 30, 40 years to happen?
I think I'm fresh out of ideas from that period. Those have been spent. I think there might be a few in old notebooks that I would find or go back to, but I have a feeling all the good ones from that time were spent on Boogie Nights and Magnolia, and a little bit into Punch Drunk Love.
When you did Hard Eight, that didn't seem like it was a totally satisfying experience for you. What did you learn that you took to the other movies? They made you change the name.
Oh, that was just a nightmare scenario, the all-time nightmare scenario of somebody coming in and taking your film from you. Worst case scenario.
When you say taking it, what'd they do other than change the title?
They, for a time, for instance, we shot the film in a widescreen format. They came in and made sure to reformat every single shot so that it was actually more of a box.
Oh, no.
So literally every frame is changed then. So, it's funny. It was one of those things that they don't teach you. It's just like, you have 10 weeks to try and put this movie together. And so you have all this bluster, all this thing we've been talking about of like, right, I can make a movie. And then you go and you make a movie. And there's something that you're just not ready for. Just like, I've got all this footage. I've bluffed my way into this. And now how do I cut this into a 90-minute movie? I fucking had no idea how to get that.
You're like 24, 25?
Yeah, 25. And like my bluff had caught up with me, I think. And if I'd had a lot of time, maybe I could have figured it out, but I had, 10 weeks less. They sort of came knocking at the door at about 5 weeks in, and I was like scrambling to figure out what to do with this film. I knew I had good material, good performances, but I didn't have the wherewithal. I didn't have the chops at the time to figure out how to get it done. So they took it away from me, which I suppose I can see their point now, but actually I can't. I see their point now. Fuck them. But it was a trial by fire for certainly. You're like, right. And I think the worst part about it is just feeling burned or feeling like this is what it's going to be like to try to make movies here. So I've got to put some armor on and I guess go back out and try and do it again. And for a while, I think it really just made me so defensive and so kind of blindly protective of myself that I couldn't see that was a one-off, that was a kind of complete, unique experience.
Yeah. And then Boogie Nights was ready at that point? Or almost ready?
Almost ready. And it was kind of the solution to the big question mark, was will I ever get this film back? Which eventually I did to a certain extent. I was able to complete the film.
Using Boogie Nights as kind of the collateral?
I had to take some of the money that I made from Boogie Nights and pay to finish the first film myself. And I was preparing Boogie Nights while finishing the first film.
And where are you living in LA at this point?
I'm living in an apartment over on Tahunga and Moore Park.
Wow.
It's like the full like swingers era. Just everybody out here in different apartments, going to the same. Everybody's in cars. There's no Uber.
No, yeah. No. You drive home.
You gotta weigh the.
You find a way. Keep one eye closed and make it.
What was your big Boogie Nights battle? Because I remember
don't
there was
remember
stuff
one.
like
Was there one?
Leo versus Mark Wahlberg was the thing at one point, right?
No,
was
there
that-
was
was
no.
that
There was no
Urban legend.
No, that's urban legend. There was no VS Leo VS Mark because Leo just didn't decided not to do the film.
Oh, so he just turned it down.
He did, but
That's one of the great what ifs in movie history.
I think it's for the best. That's my take. I rewatched it this week. I was like, Wahlberg's great.
he's amazing. I think so
I think it might
too.
be for the best too. I don't know Leo as Dirk Diggler. It's a little different.
Yeah, I love Leo, and I loved him then because I was obsessed with Gilbert Grape, which John Riley was in. It was a great movie. But backing up before that, This Boy's Life was this fucking amazing film, right?
That's when I bought all my Leo stock.
I was in.
I bought a little during Growing Pains because he had a couple great scenes with Kirk Cameron. I was like, "Who's this guy?"
Wow, so you were in on the ground floor.
I was.
I bought my Leo stock on This Boy's Life.
He went toe to toe with De Niro.
I know, and so from that point on, I was obsessed with him. But I think you're right. I think looking back, I mean, it's impossible to play this game. I hate playing it, but Mark was great, and he was right. And I'd like to. Well, Leo and I will work together one day, and it'll be the right.
It's never
thing.
happened, right?
No, but it will happen.
Come on, Leo. Burt Reynolds, was that always the guy for that?
It was a first idea, and then I think it was an idea that I kind of my memory, which is like a sewer dump, is saying that I thought of it and then rethought it, and then I think at the time to try to boost the appeal of the film to the financiers, tried to find who would be a bigger name that could help support what we were asking for in terms of the money and stuff
And that
like
was
that.
kind of in the comeback era of like Travolta had the comeback with Pulp Fiction, and you bring the star who hadn't.
Burt
been
Reynolds
in
had just
couple
done
years.
a great turn in striptease, right?
Yeah.
With Demi Moore. So that Jack Nicholson seemed like a really good idea, but we could never really get him to read the script.
That's the other what if that we've discussed.
I thought that would be interesting, but maybe it might have overwhelmed it a bit. I mean, Jack's such a big presence; you need him to maybe be the thing of a movie.
I don't know if the porn and the seediness would have resonated with Jack Nicholson. I don't see it. I don't think it would have been.
We got to see them together though in The Departed, so we got what we needed there on Leo and Jack.
Oh yeah, was that this?
And
Mark.
Mark.
There's always a story about you and Burt Reynolds went at it on the set, and it was right during the famous scene when Wahlberg versus Burt Reynolds, which it really seems like they're arguing. And you battled with Burt first, and there was like an intensity like on the set for those 2 days. Is that true, or is that urban legend?
That's almost true. I think that when Burt and I kind of got into it, it may have been the day before or the day after, but it was a really tense 3 days on the set of Boogie Nights, which the other 57 days were really fun and a lot of laughs. But there was 3 tense days there in the middle where Mark was fighting with Burt, or in the film.
Yeah.
And it was really in that kind of like, and then looking back, it was really in the nasty part of the movie too, when really everything is kind of going wrong.
You think in the movie that infects the actual set?
I
a
do.
little bit?
I absolutely do. Absolutely. You know, when it's the good times and everybody's got their silk disco pants on and everything, it's like, we're having a ball. It's really fun. But when it starts to get like cocaine glossy and hangovers and
Guy
like
shooting himself on New Year's Eve.
there's all that, there's blood and it's like it's just like the fun of it all was wearing off, and it was like the middle of summer. It was really hot, and it was just we were all stuck together in that house for a long time, and things were just like they were
West
heated.
Covina. It's for
That's
sale
right.
for like a year.
I saw that, and I think it just sold. I saw that on Curbed
It was
LA.
his biggest dream for our offices to be operating out of that house. He's raised it 5 times.
I got to be honest. I did ways to see exactly how many miles it was away, because I was like, could we make this the video audio hub of the Ringer? And it was too far.
It's just
It's like
too far.
50 minutes away. If it was 25, it was conceivable. But I was like, can you imagine we're shooting like NFL previews by the Boogie Nights pool, like how weird that would be. Incredible.
It's not a good idea.
It's not a good idea.
There's a lot of karmic energy in that house too, you know.
What's amazing is they didn't change it. They didn't touch one thing. It looks exactly the same.
It looked from the pictures. It looks exactly the same to me as well. Oh, I have such fond memories of that time and it was really like right at the edge of. There's a thing called the zone. Do you know the zone? Like if you shoot outside of the zone, you have to pay people to travel there. You have to put them up, and there's all these kind of union rules. And it was right at the edge of where you could shoot in Los Angeles without incurring those kinds of costs. And I did see that house was for sale. I would love to go back there again. I wonder if the bad thing will happen. Somebody's going to buy it and they're going to tear it down and they're going to do something.
I thought
bad
you were
with
going to
it,
end
right?
up buying it. I just figured you would just take care of it.
Just
Keep it off the market.
You know, even if I had that cash lying around, which I don't, West Covina, it's
West
just too
Covina's-
far. I think you're right. I mean,
I've had some youth soccer games in the West Covina area. It's not very close to LA.
No,
Unfortunately.
no.
You ever go back and watch Boogie Nights? Or any of your films?
If they're on, yeah, for sure.
Oh, if you're flicking channels?
If you're flicking channels,
Do you have the I would have done this differently feeling?
yeah, not really. I mean, yeah, for sure, but not in any serious way because that game that's a terrible game to play. I think you more kind of hypnotize yourself into believing that you didn't even make it, or you just sort of enjoy more of the memories of it, or you know.
I would imagine it's like watching a home movie where you're like, oh, this scene. I remember John C. Reilly threw up that day, and then he filmed anyway.
I think that's a better way of saying it. That you look at it more as a home movie, so that helps you kind of ignore any like kind of obsessive filmmaker flaws bullshit that you might do, because that would. Then your day's ruined, and then you're going to worry about that all afternoon. And no, I think it's more of a fun thing. Like, Boogie Nights is probably on more than other things.
It's been a 20-year cable rewatchable.
Yeah, that's right.
It's always in the mix.
Yeah. Inherent Vice is making a run on HBO these days. It's on a lot.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. That's a good movie for right now.
So you're 27, you're making Boogie Nights, and you've got like 50 actors on the set at all times, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, that going from Hard Eight to that had to have been education, I would guess. You're managing all these different egos. You become like the dad of this gigantic family. You haven't made a movie with that many people, that many characters that you're juggling over a short course of time like that since, right?
No, well, I mean, Magnolia had that same kind of sprawl and ensemble thing.
But it was contained
opposite.
with different pieces.
Right. Yeah, it's funny to look back at it. I guess you're right. I think I was coming out of that experience on Hard Eight with like a lot of vinegar and a lot to prove, right? You know, so I was kind of like gonna get it right. And on top of that, that energy and that kind of ego or that focus, all that stuff, I was in a world that I really felt comfortable in. I was in my backyard, you know, not West Covina, but I was in the valley.
The valley.
I was with people that were close to my own age. I was with Riley and Marky and Cheadle and all those guys. So I felt at home. I was really like, right, this is going to come to me. And I think it was such a team feeling. Like we were all kind of let loose a little bit, and it was our shot. We weren't going to blow it either. You know, we were going to kind of take our opportunity. And it all felt so good to us at the time.
You know what's interesting about when it came out? It was right during the era when DVDs had deleted scenes.
That's right, yeah.
And it was one of the first. When DVDs came out, it was so primitive that I remember like Goodfellas, you had to flip it halfway through.
That's right.
And then by about 96, 97, they started getting better. Mm-hmm. And then eventually they started putting extra stuff. And I remember thinking like, extra stuff, like I'm in Boston, I'm bartending, I'm like, there's scenes that weren't in the movie? What? Like I'm just confused by it. And yours came out I'm going to say there was a normal DVD and then a DVD that had a whole bunch of stuff. Like
Yeah.
you went all in. It seemed like you were involved with it.
It's a very...
And there's like 40 minutes of content that could have been in the movie. Like my head almost exploded.
It's a very important director's commentary for a lot of people too, because you were very honest about like I stole this from Goodfellas, I stole this from that. It was like that was like an education for people who didn't understand how movies actually worked,
Right. So did you skip? Did Laserdiscs skip you by? Did that kind of not get your way?
I blew it on Laserdisc. I have no defense.
Because that was where, to me, that was where that started,
Yeah.
and it started through who we all know and love now. Criterion was doing those Laserdiscs, and you mentioned that sort of DVD. Well, I remember when Boogie Nights was coming out, I was talking to the guy from Criterion. I was like, "Aren't you going to make DVDs?" He's like, "That's not going to last. We're sticking with Laserdiscs." I was like, "Gulp? I don't know. I think this DVD thing's." But that format of material and commentary track stuff, that was a Laserdisc. That was where it was born, because you could get all that information on there, and it was like, this is great.
And it was also the golden years of directors' commentaries before people actually realized that these were going to be on the DVDs for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
There's like a 3-year window where it's like, hey, we want you to do this DVD commentary for a movie. Just talk as the movie goes. And people are like, great. And then it's on the DVD. Like Ben Affleck had the Good Will Hunting one. And he's like crazy in it. And really funny, but I'm sure he would take back like half the stuff he said.
I think, I just had an idea just now, and obviously it's too late, maybe for the next film, is that it seems to me that you could do a new way to do a commentary would be like in the editing room. Like by the time you get to the finish of film, at least at this where I am right now, the last thing you want to do, I've seen this movie so many times.
Right.
I do not want to sit down and watch that movie again. The only thing, I'll just like start snoring. But maybe you could have like a little, just talking to your phone as you're editing or something like this is pretty, and then you could chop it up. And so you can kind of track.
Like a produced director's commentary?
What do you mean? Produced like
if you're talking in little bites as it's going along, somebody could string that together. And
maybe
that'd
that's
be cool.
a way to do it. So that they got really polished too. They got kind of like,
now they're too aware.
we want you to now come down to this studio, and then it became like signing waivers. So and then these big disclaimers at the beginning, like Sony doesn't believe anything that this guy's saying on the commentary track, and it was like,
the best ones are the ones that are more obsessed, where you can hear the person smoking and eating Doritos and just being like, I got to get all my jokes in now. I got all my lines I've been thinking about with this movie. But the Boogie Nights one is particularly good. Were you like excited about doing all that stuff back then? About saying like, I've got a whole slew of cut scenes that I want to show people?
For sure, yeah. I mean, I still get excited about that. That hasn't gone away. I think on that movie there were actually pretty good scenes too that were cut. Less and less, like more and more now. You're like bad scenes get cut, and at this point you're like, I don't really need anybody. I
deleted for a reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Except the Boogie Nights one. There's a couple of classics, but there's a scene that you cut that I'm still bitter about.
Which one was that? Which one?
The second time Dirk wins the awards. Mm-hmm. I've done a good job of not going full nerd on Boogie Nights. Sean was worried.
Paul might disagree, but we'll see.
He might disagree. The second time he wins the award, he just goes up and says, thank you. And then it goes to the next scene, which I'm assume you did for pacing. But you film the scene of him winning the second time, and you cut to everybody in the crowd reacting to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought it was amazing because it captures each character in like whatever their reaction was, and it's like 2.5 minutes long. And I was always like, that should have been the movie. But yeah, I'm sure you had your reasons. It's just an awesome 2 minutes. You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and it came into my mind the other day. Apropos of I don't know what. And I was remembering Don Cheadle sitting there.
With the wig, in one of his wigs on.
Some outfit. So I was trying to remember what outfit he was in. Maybe it was like an Earth, Wind, and Fire kind of outfit or something. And then I started, and then for whatever that image came into my mind driving around in my car, and then of course the floodgates open and you start remembering everybody else. I really started smiling. And I wonder I don't think I thought, that should have been in there. But I just had that kind of warm, fuzzy memory of doing that. It could
have definitely been the commercial for the movie. They just could have cut to everybody celebrating. Because it really did capture each person.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah, the little Bill and his wife.
Little Bill and his
she's
wife.
making it somebody.
Yeah, I remember I think I remember in hers, don't her
eyelash,
her eyelash get stuck together.
Let's take a breath and talk about Simply Safe. The holidays can be a crazy time. You want to make sure that your home is protected through all of it, especially if you're going away. What better time to step in than with Simply Safe Home Security, our old friends. Simply Safe has made everything about security effortless for you. You barely have to lift a finger. Order it online. It's delivered right to your door with free shipping. Setup so easy. It takes less than an hour. A 10-year-old could do this. Not my 10-year-old, but most 10-year-olds could do this. Best of all, Simply Safe has no long-term contracts, no pushy sales guys, no hidden fees. You're protecting your whole house for an honest and fair price. Just $15 a month for best in industry 24/7 alarm monitoring. Right now, for the holidays, my friends at Simply Safe are giving you, my listeners, an incredible offer. $200 off this package. Complete protection for your home, handpicked by me. All you have to do is go to simplysafebs.com. That's Simply Safe with 2 I's, and you get $200 off. These systems will fly off the shelves during the holidays. Get one as soon as you can. $200 off. Go to simplysafebs.com. And now, more with Paul Thomas Anderson. So when did you feel like you had complete command of the craft? Like for where you want it to be, where you could just be like, I'm making a movie. I'm just good at this, and this is every detail is going to be perfect, and I know I'm just going to nail this.
But well, I mean, if I admitted to feeling that, wouldn't that make me like psychotic? Like
No. I'm not saying like you're perfect. I'm just saying like with a baseball pitcher. At some point, a baseball pitcher's like, I know what I'm doing. I have these 4 pitches. I know how to throw them, and I can do this.
Confidence.
Well, confidence came for sure after Boogie Nights. During Boogie Nights and during the editing of it, and feeling like looking at it and feeling like this is I aimed it this way, and I'm kind of meant to do this. Oh my God. And
it worked.
It worked, you know. There was definitely a confidence boost from that. Big time.
Is Magnolia.
And then to
like
have to feel that way, but then turn around and have other people feel that way, and have, you know, sit in a big theater. I never had that opportunity for my first film. Sit in a big theater and watch people watch it and laugh and really get into it. It was like, right, okay. Not only the confidence boost, but more just a wider understanding of like, okay, so I think I got the job. I think I know I think I can do this. But let me figure out what more I can do with it. What else can I do? And then I wrote Magnolia, which that was just like too much confidence, probably. But that's okay.
That was going to be my question. Was it good? Was it supposed to be a challenge for yourself?
I think it was just a challenge. It would be a challenge. It was a challenge to write so personally and to write so nakedly about my life at the time, and just blah, like throw it all up and put it out there. But that seemed like the right thing to do at that time. It just seemed like I had no other experience except the one right in front of me, which had just happened, or dealing with the last couple of years of my life. And like, it all just came out.
Did you know Cruise had that in him?
Oh, yeah.
What movie made you think he had it in him?
You know, Rain Man. For sure, Rain Man.
He's the MVP of Rain Man.
Ugh.
That's one of my Oscar redos. Cruise has way harder role in Rain Man.
Yes.
Way harder.
Yeah.
Because he's an asshole, but I have to like him by the end of it.
He has got so many more moves he has to pull. And I get, yeah, always loved Tom Cruise like everybody else loved Tom Cruise, but Rain Man, like, I think I love Tom Cruise more than anybody loves Tom Cruise. And then Born on the 4th of July was an amazing performance, and Color of Money.
Yeah.
I mean, those three, those were strong, you know.
There's a little Frank T.J. Mackey in all three of those characters, too. A little dickish, something that you're attracted to.
He's funny too.
Yeah.
Cruise is funny. But I was thinking about it. I mean, Cruise, when you see Tom Cruise on screen, name anybody else that can do that right now, that can do what Cruise can do, who whether it's in his action films or whether it's in his dramatic stuff. Cruise is the fucking king. If you like step back a little bit and you're like, right, come on, game's on. It's fucking Cruise. Well, I love watching those Mission Impossible movies.
The body of work, like if he was an athlete, we would be wondering what the hell was going on. Because
Totally.
Risky Business was 1982.
Right.
And he was a kid in the movie, but he was probably a tiny bit older than that. But, Edge of Tomorrow. Was that one with Emily Blunt?
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, but look, I mean, in that sports analogy
4.
too, I mean, he as he gets older, if he loses his ability to jump off buildings and stuff like that, I'm not nervous about that at all because he's got so many moves to fall back on because he's got a big bag of tricks.
A couple of months, maybe a month ago, I wrote about what Cruise's next move is because you saw like the great actors that we grew up with, like Paul Newman when he made The Verdict. It was an important moment for his career because he kind of aged, and it was a character that you don't really play when you're trying to be the A-list, action hero actor. You play it when you're moving into the next part of your career. And I think Cruise is ready for one of those. Like he's ready for his verdict.
Just you
that
wait.
That could be your next challenge.
I think right around the corner you're going to see that. It's going to be Cruise's. Don't bet against Cruise.
What made you want to do a movie with Adam Sandler? What'd you see in him?
Well, I particularly loved Big Daddy. That was my number one. I mean, and Happy Gilmore, I suppose. More than I liked Billy Madison. I liked Billy Madison, but by the time I got to Happy Gilmore, I was like, oh.
That's one of Tate's favorites.
I enjoyed that.
And then I think I really graduated to obsession level with, like I said, with Big Daddy.
What about Big Daddy? That one is a little lost to time.
My kids love Big Daddy. If there's any,
did they like?
My kids think Sandler is like the greatest actor of all time. They love Sandler. They're in on anything Sandler.
They have great taste.
Yeah,
they have great taste. I think Big Daddy it was a little bit more polished. It sort of seemed a little bit more able to kind of be sincere and the crazy fucking dirty shit that Sandler likes to do. And he sort of got the mix really right. And I think he looked to me like, he just looks like a goofball in Happy Gilmore. But in Big Daddy, you start to see like there's actually kind of a handsome guy in there, And there still is. As a matter of fact, I haven't seen the Meyerowitz stories yet, but I've been seeing these pictures of him lately. I haven't seen him in a while. We talk all the time, but I haven't seen him in a while. He's so good looking now as he gets older. I know that's not what people would normally say about him, but his face is getting even better as he gets older.
I thought he was really good in Funny People.
Yeah, me too.
I think I thought that was the one where it's like if somebody's having is Sandler how good of an actor is the argument. The first hour of Funny People, I think he's excellent. I'm also not sure how many people could have pulled that movie off.
I think it's true in Meyerowitz too. If you see Meyerowitz, it reminds me a lot of Punch Drunk Love, but he's a really good actor. And it's kind of cliche at this point to be like, but he's a good actor because if you've seen Punch Drunk Love or have you seen one of those other movies, but he's really good in this movie.
Well, what's interesting, one of the things that fascinates me about you is, like, you love Midnight Run. Midnight Run's like a formative movie for you.
Big time, yeah.
Like, Hard Eight was named Sydney. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, Midnight Run.
That's inside baseball for sure.
Yeah, super inside baseball. You love Sandler. Boogie Nights has so many, like, really genuinely funny, hilarious moments in it. Mm-hmm. Yet since then, you've never gone, like, full scale into just trying to make a funny movie. Like, would you ever make Midnight Run, like that type of movie? Would you ever want to do that? Or have you just past that?
Well, I'm not past anything. It's like it doesn't really work that way. Like, I'm going to make a Midnight Run type of movie. I mean, a buddy action comedy on the road, kind of,
The formula works.
it sure does.
I love it.
I haven't seen that done in a while. I did see some of Central Intelligence. I thought there was some pretty good stuff in that. That actually was.
See, I think you're thinking about it. You're playing coy. He's studying all these different buddy comedies. You got one in you.
You could do good stuff with The Rock, think about it.
I love The Rock. But I think The Rock, yeah.
Because Boogie Nights is basically a buddy movie in a couple weird ways.
With Brock and Chest?
Yeah.
For sure.
And there's father-son stuff with
Dirk
Brock
and
with Dirk and Jack Horner. But Brock and Dirk, that's some of the most fun stuff. I think you have it in you. You just went to 1950s
Are you trying
England.
to say that my movies aren't funny anymore? They haven't been funny in a while? Like kind of the Woody Allen thing, like your earlier funnier
I
stuff.
thought Phantom Thread had some really funny moments, which I was not prepared for, because it seemed so serious in the beginning. I was like, oh, all right, serious movie coming. And then there's some laughs in it. Which
Maybe
I
that's
wasn't
a problem
prepared
that
for.
we've had lately. I mean, I remember watching The Master and feeling like maybe we have a problem here, because I'm one of those people that if they start laughing, they cannot stop. There's probably two types of people in the world. There's the people that can just laugh and that's it, and then there's people that once they start, they're crying and they can't stop. I'm the latter. And I found The Master to be very, very, very funny. But somewhere along the way, we didn't really get the laughs that I think
I don't think
we
it
should.
gets credit
And
for
I
that.
think it was that maybe I find when somebody is so serious, I find that funny. When somebody is so dedicated to what they believe, I find that funny. So kind of every word that comes out of Phil's mouth, I find pretty funny.
Yeah, when he says you're a scoundrel, I was cracking up when I watched that.
Every last word somehow feels like absolute bullshit, and I find it funny. I think there was a seriousness. There was an overall heaviness to that film. Anyway, because of Joaquin's, that somewhere, hopefully over time, some of that humor will reemerge to an audience or something like that. But those are those funny things. You make something and you think, God, it was funny to me, and then it's just fucking crickets.
I feel like people are afraid because they're not sure if they're supposed to laugh. I felt that watching Phantom Thread. People are like, oh, it's a very serious work. But there's, Daniel Day-Lewis is funny. He's
very funny. But we have that same phenomena on There Will Be Blood a lot, where we've done some live score. Like they play the movie again with a live orchestra, and Johnny Greenwood plays.
Really?
And it plays like a comedy. I'm not kidding. Just the character is it's very well known now to these audiences, and they know what's coming, and they know every last kind of look and question mark that looms behind his eyes as he looks at Eli, or how he deals with him. Somehow, knowing the film and knowing where it's headed, it becomes a lot funnier to audiences, at least the ones who know it.
Can we talk more about that movie?
Sean's ready to nerd up on There Will Be Blood.
What do you remember most about making it?
Being in the desert with a great group of people, being in the desert with, I just had a baby, so I had at that time, an 8-month-old, living in Marfa, Texas, and feeling like completely. Talk about going to West Covina and feeling like you're outside of town, and you've got that. We were in the middle of West Texas, hours and hours away from anything, so it really felt like no adult supervision, the world's greatest actor, a really good script, lights, cameras, film. It was exciting. When we had that train coming down those tracks and sort of like go through all this work to get that train coming down those tracks, you're like pinching yourself like, this is a dream come true. This is really like Fantasyland stuff. And that was all kind of at the beginning. And then as it went on, my memories were of just the joy of watching Daniel work, really like knowing that I was watching something front row that was pretty spectacular. I felt really confident about.
Sounds like sports.
Right.
Like you're watching LeBron in his prime or something.
Well, we had an actor come to the set one day had to do this confrontation scene with Daniel. It's a great actor named David Wachowski. It's the guy in the scene when he says, Daniel ends up saying, one of these nights I'm going to come in, I'm going to cut your throat from wherever you live, I'm going to cut your throat. So anyway, this actor has to do the scene with Daniel all day, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And at the end of it, he stood up and he said, I just feel like I went 10 rounds with Federer. And it was exactly that. It was that sports things. It was like just that feeling of the energy between him and other actors that would come on. Fucking great to watch.
So, like, I could name the 3 great things that LeBron does or Federer or whatever. What are the 3 things that Daniel Day-Lewis does that make him the best? Like, what are the 3 things you would say, 3 traits that he has that you just haven't really seen?
Every word that comes out of his mouth feels like it just came out of his brain and to his lips and out into the air. It doesn't feel like a line that you've written. On the flip side of that, when he gets a good line, he can chew it up and like serve it up as a fastball with so much stink on it that you're like, it's theater, you know? And the other thing is the physicality that he has, the way he can like hunch his shoulders or move into something or chew on his lip, or just seeing him walk down a hallway a certain way. And you think of that Bill the Butcher stuff, think of him walking out in that Gangs in New York and he's just like planting his foot. And some piece of physicality that he does where you think like, nobody else would have come up with that. Nobody. And those kind of defining moments that you're like, right, now you settle in and you're like, right, I'm watching a movie now in the best way, like turn the lights down. This is a movie. At the same time, though, that can imply that it's theatrical, which is good, but there's that balance that he can do the small stuff really, really well and make it seem simple, which is something we always talk about, is like, whenever we'll come across a performance, something that we like, I think we've always said, like, God, how the fuck did they do, how did they make it look so simple? God damn it, we got to keep working. It's like one of those things that it's not jealous. We were talking about jealousy earlier. It's like, you're like, fuck, how'd they do it?
Like they cracked the code.
They fucking cracked the code. They make it look so easy. We're trying too hard. God, loosen up. You know,
Phantom Thread was definitely like that, where I was watching it. I thought it was great. And it felt like a movie only you could have made. And it also felt like a movie only he could have been in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine who else would have played that role.
Well, I was wondering about that because I saw you talk about the movie a little bit, and you said that this was really collaborative with Daniel.
Yeah.
The new one. Was that There Will Be Blood similar, where there was a lot of conversation about who this person was, and you unlock new stuff from talking to him?
Yeah, it was exactly like that. The only difference was that I had more written of There Will Be Blood. And there was a book, which we didn't use much, but, you know, but in both instances, there was a kind of, there was a thing to latch onto outside of whatever emotional things we were going to deal with, which is really comforting to kind of occupy your day with, like, let's learn how to get oil out of the ground. What are the realities of these guys looking for oil? It's just historical stuff that you can spend your day dealing with, even though you know you're not making a film that's really about that, right? So you can spend your days learning how to sew. You can spend your days learning about making dresses in the 1950s. But
you have to get the dialogue and the lingo perfect too, right?
But we got to get all that shtick down and make sure we don't look like fools, right?
Yeah.
But you know, it's all that kind of work that he likes to do and I like to do, of trying as deeply as you can to get to live inside a 3D model of the thing, you know, and really kind of look around at all sides of it and try and figure it out. And doing that with him is fun. I mean, it's elaborate.
Does it ever scare you? It's described as being very intense.
No, it doesn't scare me. It's only intense in that the level. It's intense on set. The level of concentration he has is really severe. It's tops. I mean, you know, it's sports metaphors like Daniel. There's no reliever when Daniel's pitching a game. He's going the full 9, right? I mean, the bullpen just didn't even come in that day.
Yeah.
You know, and That's intense. That level of concentration is intense because usually sometimes even the most intense actors I've worked with, it's like, right, it's lunch. Let's just take a break. But it's not. It's strong all day with Daniel.
Did you know that was coming when you did There Will Be Blood?
Yeah.
You'd heard the stories, I'm sure.
I'd heard stories, but I was trying to make up my own mind. But we were clear with each other, and we'd been just getting to know each other and working on it beforehand. You know, you're like, right, it's not going to something drastically change. It's not like we're going to get out on the road and it's going to be wildly different.
Is that more fun for you, or is it more fun to be like when the set's more jovial?
Getting a balance. I mean, I getting a balance. It's fun to have fun, but it's. We on our sets we do fuck around. We do have laughs and things like that, but it's not. We're there to work. We're there to work. So there's a way to do it that you can have a good time and get on with the work, but it depends. It's like, Daniel was a different character when There Will Be Blood. That person was living outside, and there was a sort of team of people that he worked with, and he had his space and all that kind of stuff. And this one, we were all just like right on top of each other, and space is never any bigger than this. The very exacting character, noises were particular. That typing over there would be like... Get rid of that guy.
Tate, maybe you should leave.
So, but that's Reynolds Woodcock, and so we were living inside that world, and that was the fun and the pain of it for 3.5, 4 months.
What were you going to say, Sean? I interrupted.
No, you got at it. The master you were saying though was funny and fun to do with Phil and Joaquin, but was the set very intense? Given that some of the exchanges in the movie are very intense.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. The days that are intense. They're quiet. You can hear a pin drop, and those are always good days because everybody's on their game. No one's wandering. Everybody's focused. It's a big scene at the end of The Master that we shot for one day. In that, when Joaquin comes back to see Phil, and they have a very long conversation at a table. That was one of the most intense days I've ever been a part of, too. Just from stepping on the scents, from the energy that both of them were giving off, and Amy as well, who was there. It was like the air was thick, and the air, you could smell it, and the smell said, "Don't fuck around in here." And then it was good. It was really nice. It was a really, what happens, you're in this big room. It boils down to probably like 5 or 6 crew members and the actors. Everybody else is outside, and you just get on with it. And what happens when it starts is you just know, like, right, we've started, and we can't stop. We can't break this concentration. We didn't break for lunch. You just get in it and you do it, and you do it as quickly and as swiftly as possible so that you don't break concentration.
One more break to talk about our good friends at Squarespace. They have been our good friends now. This is year 3 of my friendship with them. Make it easy to build beautiful websites. Who does that? Squarespace. Whether you're planning to start a business, change careers, launch a creative project, now that 2017 is in the books, you should absolutely be tackling your next move with Squarespace. Widely used by all kinds of people and businesses, they give you the ability to create an online platform with which you can make your latest goals into a reality. Whether you need a landing page, a beautiful gallery, and a professional blog, an online store, it's all included in your Squarespace website. Add and arrange your content and features with the click of a mouse. Nothing to install, patch, or upgrade ever. Squarespace's award-winning 24/7 customer support will help you no matter how hard or how easy your problem may be. 24/7 customer support, underrated, by the way. Start a free trial at squarespace.com. Use offer code BS to get 10% off your first purchase. What a deal. Again, that's squarespace.com. Offer code BS. Back to Paul and Sean. You became addicted to Philip Seymour Hoffman because of Scent of a Woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
You watched that one and you were just like, I want to work with that guy.
Yeah.
That's my guy. How many movies did you do with him?
I don't know. 6? If
So
this is 8, I've only ever made 1 movie without him. 2 movies without him. 6? So 6.
What do you miss
Who's
the most
counting?
about him?
Everything. Yeah.
What how aware are you of the conversation that is happening around your movies? I was thinking about this with There Will Be Blood and The Master. The conversation started to be, this is a movie master. This is like every movie now is an event. That's obviously something that's happening in that TMI world that we were talking about before. But like, are you aware of that stuff? Do people come up to you and they say like, "You're the greatest. You're the best ever. Tell me how you do it."
I get people recognize me, sure. But usually it's maybe you might know where it might happen. If you go to the movies,
right?
People say, hey, and then it happens randomly at places you'll never expect, something like that, and that's always kind of that's great. It's really exciting. Like, what the fuck? How the fuck do you know who I am? It's exciting. I mean, I love the idea. I mean, look, what better situation could there be that if you're going to make a film and go about it and people are anticipating it and people are into it? It's amazing. It's so exciting. But then you can also have that thing in reverse where somebody comes up and like gets really scared. They're like, somebody came up to I think I was the valet guy. I was like, "Oh man, Magnolia is my favorite movie of all time." And I was like, "Great, well, come see the new one." He's like, "You got a new movie coming out?" Like, we got to work on our marketing.
That's why you're sitting here today. Yeah,
right, exactly. Like, come on. So yeah.
Were you? Do you think at all about the peak levels of directors and how long a director can stay at a certain level and what the history of that is? Because there's sometimes some people feel like 7-8 years and that's it, and that's when you have your run, and then it's really hard to put together a couple decades, which you've now done.
Well, thanks. That's great. But it reminds me that I never saw this letter, but apparently, I want to find out if this is true or not, that there's a kind of health report that went out to the Directors Guild of America members, which really includes first assistant directors and second assistant directors, and it was said something to the extent of the average life expectancy for a DGA member is 57 years.
Oh my God,
that's not good.
Like, I think the assistant directors, with all the stress they had, brought the median age way, way, way down through premature heart attacks from being screamed at probably by producers and directors. But I think it can take a lot out of you, and you'll see other filmmakers that you like whose best work is here or there or in the middle or sometimes towards the end. But yeah, you become aware, like, I know Quentin likes to say, like, I'm making 10 movies and then I'm quitting, that kind of thing. But I could never, I don't know how he could say that, or if he could take himself seriously when he's saying that. Like, this is what I want to do. As long as I'm able to do it, I'm going to keep doing it. And I think things can become peculiar maybe when directors don't act their age, maybe, or seeing them try to keep up with the kids or do something that's, maybe trying to be hip or something like that. That never is a good look.
They don't age with their age.
Right. So I don't know.
I had a friend who was a director say that he became obsessed with, as he was going through a divorce, and he was saying how he became obsessed with how many directors got divorced and how many of them had whatever, like hard family stuff, because when they made movies, everyone in that movie became their family for 9-10 months, and it's really hard to also juggle your real family and be able to just go back and forth between those two worlds. And he was like, people have no idea how hard this is, especially when it's done and you got to shut it off. And now it's like, all right, say goodbye to my 120 person family. They're gone. I've
seen that happen a lot to a lot of people that I've worked with. I see it happen a lot with cinematographers who really kind of go from film to film. We joke it should be like a divorce fund at the ASC clubhouse, just because it's a kind of a common thing. And divorce and that kind of stuff can be common. You see like really difficult films. I remember on Avatar, there's some people that I knew that worked, that just went on for so long, and there was a long road of like really kind of damaged lives of people really unable to balance the requirements that were being put on them for that job and the fucking real thing that they're working for with their family. Yeah, I knock wood. I could be failing miserably, but I try to steer clear of that problem.
How many kids you have now?
I have 4.
You have 4? What are the age ranges?
12, 8, 6, and 4. How many do you have?
I have a 12 and a 10.
Great.
Was 12 a boy or a girl?
Is a girl. 3 girls and 1 boy I have.
12-year-old girls. That could be a second podcast.
Do you have a girl, a 12-year-old girl?
Yeah. 12 and a half now.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I know.
In a good way. As long as I can stay her hero for like another 6 months, I'm good. But I know it's going to end soon.
Well, I
So we're at
suppose
the
it
tail
will
end.
end soon, won't it? But then it'll come back, right?
It'll come
Won't
back.
it?
Yeah, that's what they say. They come back at some point. But,
Yeah.
have you thought about, you have 4 kids. Have you thought about how does that work for a movie potentially? Or do you...
What, like a
do you
movie
keep the
about 4
distance?
kids? Or wait,
No, just about a family movie.
a family movie? Yeah, I don't know. I got in trouble today from my son. I had to look at some commercial spots, and I went on my computer. And I was looking at them this morning, and it came over just at the very end, and it said rated R. And he went, come on! I said, it's not up to me. It's not up to me. It's they. Well, why did I said they made it? They made it. The Motion Picture Association made it rated R. He said, why? So there's a couple bad words in it. There's a couple bad words. He said, which ones? I said the F word, and my 4-year-old said, fucking asshole. Yeah, fucking asshole.
Phantom Thread's rated R?
For fucking asshole.
Seriously?
For fucking. You can say 1 fuck, but you can't say 2.
You're intimately familiar with these. You have a lot of experience with these.
I
With
do.
Boogie Nights, you had to take out like 40 seconds. That was the difference between NC-17 and R.
I don't know if it was 40 seconds, but I know it had to do with humping and talking at the same time. That was my memory of the conversation with the woman from the MPAA. She said, look, we had a scene when Nina Hartley is fucking this guy on the bed. She's sitting on top of him. Bill Macy comes in.
Right.
Says, what are you doing? And I can't remember the dialogue. And we shot it that she continues to hump up and down and say the dialogue. And ultimately she became very clear. She said, look, you can have her keep fucking him, but she can't talk. Or you can have her stop fucking him and then talk. Did I just
So you had
say
to do
the same thing twice? So we had to refilm. We had to reshoot it.
She was available.
She was available, and she's humping away. She stops. She says her line of dialogue to him. He closes the door, and then she continues to hump. And we shot that, inserted that, and that got us the NC-17.
It's hard to believe that's what broke the NC-17. That little thing. That would not have been my first guess.
There were other things along the way, though, that had been negotiated and taken out already.
Yeah.
And they were usually just trims, quite honestly, and it was never anything.
I have a nerdy
horrible.
writer question. Phantom Thread. I have no idea how you even come up with that, and I'm sure it's like the seed of something. But at some point, you're staring at, I don't know, a final draft document that's just empty, and you have to start to write it. What's your process for that? Do you have an outline, or are you one of those people that just wings it?
Well, I'm a winger for sure. At least initially, and I don't use Final Draft.
Okay.
I use the all-time worst program, which is Microsoft Word, which to anybody who's ever used it,
I still use Microsoft Word.
See?
Sean can attest.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I still have a ThinkPad
translate it
too.
every time you write
I'm
something.
22 years with a ThinkPad and Microsoft Word. Yeah. See, this is our generation.
God bless you guys.
And it is the dumbest. It
So
doesn't
you write
make any
scripts
sense.
in Microsoft Word?
I do.
That's amazing.
That's really weird.
I do. It's very strange, and it drives everybody mad because they eventually have to transfer it over into Final Draft when we do our schedule, and it's a fucking headache and a half. But
Maybe that allows you to see the stuff. I hate Final Draft. Maybe it allows you to see the
I don't like Final
landscape
Draft
better.
either. I think it does. I think that's a great point. But I always try. I try to avoid that moment of like sitting down and looking at a blank piece of paper ever. That you have to put chips in something, so you never get to that spot. And what I mean is, I think that's funny. I'm just remembering this. Pretty consistently, somehow, the energy after I've finished shooting a film has led me. You have this false kind of energy. I've had it a few times now, where you don't collapse at the end of it. You actually feel like I could do this again, what it is you're stepping back into normal life, but you're still sort of firing on all these cylinders. And
Right.
a couple times now, I've gotten up, gone to the coffee maker, sat down, and really started to write what I felt I would want to make next, even as vague and bizarre or unclear as it was. It was a story of a man and a woman, a relationship, a this, a that, a this. Somehow the dialogue starts coming. Okay, now, days later, the energy that you've been spending making a film and the physical reality of what you've been through, you just sort of collapse.
Yeah.
But it's happened to me a couple times now where I've gotten a lot of kind of
Residual energy.
absolutely. So there's like foothold into something that was obviously nagging at me, or all this. And it happened on this one, I think, after Inherent Vice. I started to sort of write a bunch of things down straight away that had occurred to me, and that during the course of editing that film, I was daydreaming about what this movie would be and trying to write things down, but not trying to write too much. And I think it was, back to this thing that we talked about before, it was wanting to not get to a mess that I have been in before, which is writing 600 pages
Yeah.
and having to bring it down. So I had enough ideas on this where I felt like daydream and think about it and turn it over in your mind and write a little bit here and there, but never get to that spot where you've overwritten it or you haven't figured a few things out before you really jump in
So
to
does that
attack
mean
it.
you've started the next thing?
think
have
you
an
did. I think you
idea.
just announced it. It's
Yes.
with Adam Sandler. It's a family comedy. It's an action
family
buddy movie,
comedy,
family
yes.
comedy.
I have, well, no. What I will probably try to do next, foolishly, is go back to that 600-page thing that I have and try and see if there's anything to carve out of it. But again, I would probably I'll start approaching it in the next couple months the same way that I just described. I think I would probably try to daydream about what I know is in there.
Yeah.
And wonder how much I can get away with not looking at it and just write from what I know that's in there is good. Because when you go back into those 600 pages, it's a briar patch, isn't it? Right? You start to see something, well, this is not a bad idea, and maybe I should follow that thread. And the next thing you know, 2 hours later, you've really pissed the day away, right?
Is this in the mornings? You start writing in the mornings?
I do.
Cup of coffee and you're off?
Yeah.
You have your own place? Everybody leaves you alone?
I do. I have a little barn that I go to next to our house.
Are
but
the kids allowed to come into it?
yeah, they come in.
They come flying in?
Oh yeah, but I don't go down there. At first, I just stay up at the kitchen table. That's my spot right now. But I get up before anybody else gets up, so I can get some work done. And then, yeah, it's a great feeling though when they come walking in. Do you have to wake your kids up, or do they wake up?
No, my son is up before everybody.
But you have to wake your daughter up to
We
go.
call my son the CEO.
He's in
So
charge.
like you read those stories about Bob Iger, how he gets up at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my son. He's just ready to start the day.
He's just as powerful too.
He's almost as powerful of a presence.
He's my kind. Can I buy stock in him?
You could. So when you did Phantom Thread, you start out this idea you have about guy in the 50s who's really great at making dresses or making clothes, whatever, and his life is this routine, and it's an obsession. That's all he has, and then somebody comes in and uproots it.
Boy, I wish it was even that specific. It was more like, and the initial thing was more like man and woman, this kind of thing. Like,
Not even 1950s.
No, I was probably, if anything, trying to stay away from going back to another period piece. I mean, they're such a fucking pain in the, they're a chore.
With the cars.
Yeah, everything, and it's limiting. You can't just run down the street and start shooting. You got everything, so that becomes a headache. If anything, I was probably trying to avoid that. But when you, I don't know if you do this, but write everything, then you just put a question mark next to it. That kind of lets you off the hook. Like man or woman, sister? Question mark. Then you've still got limitless possibilities, but you're writing your ideas down.
And then when does like Daniel Day-Lewis become involved?
Soon. Like,
You talk to him on the phone or in person. You're like,
yeah.
Here's the framework of what I'm thinking.
Yes.
And then he starts mulling it over?
Yes.
Is there anybody else you could do that with? Or is he a unique animal?
He is unique in that way, and then he'll probably take longer than anybody else does to go over the material. But I would do that with anybody else that I had in mind.
Cruise,
yeah.
You got to write Cruise's verdict roll.
Okay.
This is it. That's a challenge.
That's a good idea.
Second phase of Cruise. Any other film nerdy question? I know you have one. You got one more. I can feel it.
Is there anything that you haven't been able to make that you still want to make? Have you ever been told no? And also, is it hard to make movies for you at this point because of what's going on in the industry?
I have never written something that I then tried to make that I couldn't get made. It was very hard to get The Master made, but that ended up being great and worked out exactly right. It depends on what the budget for the movie is, and it depends on who's in it. I don't have a blank check waiting for me in the next room at all. I think it's who's in it, what's it going to cost, okay. And those are the questions that I have to answer. And how long is it? They all want to know how long it is because I got a bad reputation.
This one's easy though.
This one's easy, yeah.
My last question is, what's the greatest thing you've ever seen an actor do? Yeah. You haven't been asked that one. He's going to take his time because it's an important answer.
Understandable.
Phil Hoffman in The Master. That would be the greatest thing I've ever seen an actor do.
Like the entire performance?
Yeah. Right alongside Joaquin Phoenix in The Master. That would be the greatest thing I ever got to watch.
Do you feel like they elevated each other because it became competitive?
Not competitive at all. Like partners in crime.
Well, that's what I mean. Like that does.
Yes.
They knew
yeah.
The other guy was bringing it, so they had to bring it.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Last question, Sean.
Last great thing you've seen.
It's a plug for a really small movie that I really, really enjoyed that no one seems to have seen, and it's called Tracktown. About and I should get all the. Maybe you can help me with the info on this because I don't even remember the girl's name. It's about a girl who's a runner, up in where's Nike? Oregon, right?
Oregon, yes.
Yeah. And Rachel Dratch has a small part in it. She plays the girl's mom, and I think the girl is even the co-director of it. I see you over there typing on that computer. Do you have info that we can? Lexi Pappas. She does this fantastic performance as a runner in this
streaming?
film. I don't know. I saw it on an airplane a couple weeks ago, and I love watching people run track. I love watching girls run track in particular. I mean, I just and this kind of it's a great performance.
Are you Without Limits or Prefontaine?
There's
only one answer to this.
Without Limits.
Yeah. Superior. Crude up. It's a great movie.
It's Robert Towne.
Without Limits is, I think...
Do you disagree?
No, I'm a Robert Towne person. So,
yeah.
Without Limits is rising the rankings of the sports movie thing because some of the sports movie, like the greatest of all time, some of them are now dated. So they start falling down.
What are those?
So 15 years ago, it was Hoosiers or the Natural. That was the argument.
Okay, yeah.
It was one of those two. It had to be one of those two. And I'd accept arguments for both. Ultimately, say Hoosiers. I think as the time has passed, I don't think either people would have either of them in. And I don't even know what the answer is now. I mean, you might have to go all the way back to Rocky now. I think Rocky's like regained because it was so influential. It's slow is the only problem.
Rocky's slow?
Rocky's slow. Rocky's slow. It could use I know you're not allowed to touch the past with movies, but it could use a boost. It could use some caffeine.
I believe that. I mean, I think everything has a different pace, but I'm surprised to hear that actually. But you know what film I thought about the other day that I haven't seen since it came out was 8 Men Out. Was that any good? I don't remember.
It is good. Yeah.
It was John Sayles did it. I remember.
Isn't it Robert Elswit?
No,
Richardson.
It's
watched
Haskell Wessler.
I watched it.
Wessler, okay.
I watched it with my son because my son is.
It could have been Bob Richardson.
I think
actually.
it's Richardson. Yeah.
My son's ripping through every baseball movie, so we watched that one. It's kind of timeless because it's set in the past, and that thing was crazy, and it's not really dated because it was already dated when they made it.
And how's Major League hold up?
Well, Major League's the king.
Major League is pretty great.
Major League's the prince. For my son, Sandlot is the king.
Yeah, I've never seen the Sandlot.
Sandlot is the most important.
It's more to my generation.
More than the Bad News Bears?
Yeah. Bad News Bears is a little dated. But Bad News Bears has good swear words in it that when you're 8, it's like you can't believe that.
Bad News Bears has, I mean, that, when he throws the beer in her face, all that kind of stuff, it's like.
Has not aged. Some of the stuff has not aged well.
Oh.
But Bad News Bears and
how about Vic Morrow? And that's the Tony Curtis one, right? When they go to Japan?
No, that was Japan. Bad News Bears break and training. They steal a van. They
Astrodome?
drive to the Astrodome. Yeah. That one's held up nicely. William Devane is the dad.
That's William Devane. That's right.
It's a good one. They let them play Astrodome chant.
That's right. I just remember, what's his name? Not Linus, but the kid who's beating up everybody.
Tanner.
Tanner.
Yeah.
I remember Tanner looking up. Doesn't the camera kind of go like that and spin around?
Yeah, it's good. The late 70s was like a nice little glory run of sports movies. Like basically the Rocky momentum led to all these a boon, like the Fast Break.
Fast Break.
There,
Fast
Fish
Break.
That Saved Pittsburgh.
Fish Who Saved Pittsburgh.
Slapshot. Like it just every genre kind of
It's
had a
the
movie.
fish that saved Pittsburgh.
Classic.
Whoa.
When's your movie officially come out?
It comes out Christmas Day in New York and Los Angeles, and January 12th, other places in America.
Okay, I think we're holding this podcast until
then,
so the world can see it.
It was an awesome movie, though. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and
congrats.
I really hope Daniel Day-Lewis doesn't retire. You got to talk him out of that.
I'll give him a little time, and then maybe I'll try and talk him out of it.
Are we 100% sure he's going to retire? I can't imagine just stopping doing that when he's that good at it.
I can't either, but it's not up to me. And but I could see it. I could see this sticking.
I feel like actors are like boxers, where they almost have to not be good once to really officially retire. That it's so hard to leave when you're at the top. What great athlete has done that, And same thing with actors.
That's not going to be the issue on this one.
What do you mean?
Nobody's going to be like he's cooked. He should step away.
Right.
No, but I'm
is
sure
there an athlete who has ever done that?
Jim Brown. Jordan did it, but then he came back. Usually, like the pride and the ego makes him come back, but in his case, he really seems like he's done. Like doesn't want to. It's too grueling for him, or something, or he feels like he's done everything.
For Daniel.
Yeah. I don't know what the answer is, but it's just kind of. Has there been another actor who just walked away when they still had their fastball?
Not like this, that I know of.
Not that I can think of.
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard. Paul Thomas Anderson, this is a pleasure. Thank you.
Great, Bill. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean
for having
Fennessy.
me.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much to Paul and Sean. Thanks to Simply Safe. No better time to get home security than right now. For the holidays, my friends at Simply Safe are giving you, my listeners, an absolutely incredible offer. Save $200 on a special security package handpicked by me entry sensors, motion sensors, glass brake sensors. It's got everything. Go to simplysafebs.com. That is SimpliSafe with 2 I's, simplysafebs.com. Hurry. Offer ends January 2nd. Thanks to SeatGeek. Don't forget NBA tickets for first-timers on SeatGeek. $20 off. We are coming back with another BS podcast this week because Mike Francesa wants to keep making NFL picks. I had such a good time last week with him. We're doing it again. So look forward to that one. Until then.